This is the Balanced Growth Show with Dr. Travis Perry, helping successful business professionals like you achieve balance in their lives.
Welcome to another episode of the Balanced Advisor podcast. I am your host, Dr. Travis Perry. Today we have with us Mike Garry. Mike was born and raised in the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and now resides in Yardley, Pennsylvania. He has been married to the love of his life, Rachel, for over 25 years. Together, they share three beautiful daughters. Never to be one to sit on the sidelines, this proud father has coached his daughters' Yardley Makefield soccer, a YMCA soccer and basketball teams. In life, Michael's mantra is anything is possible. He believes in practicing both financial fitness and physical fitness. Michael has completed the 2018 Ironman Maryland, the Philadelphia Marathon, the Philadelphia Distance Run, the Broad Street Run, the American Cancer Society Bike-a-thon, the Irish Pubs Tour de Shore Charity Ride, and the Philadelphia and Marsh Creek Triathlons. He finished the Quakerman Half Triathlon, a 71-mile race, winning the Clydesdale division. I should have introduced you as Mr. Triathlon Mike. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Travis.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to know that somebody's out there is really working on his health, which tomorrow we're doing a whole webinar on this. Health really is wealth. It's also balance. So many advisors that I talk to struggle with this part, and it really does bring balance, which I'm sure we'll get into a little bit. So talk to us about how you got into this industry. And then we're going to learn more about, the personal side of you and balance and how these triathlons all fit in. But tell us, what got you here?
Sure. So I went to law school first. I got my MBA, went to law school. I was working for two different law firms in Center City, Philadelphia. And I was working at the second one, and I was going to those networking functions that they made us go to. And I met a recruiter for Merrill. And she said that my MBA and law degrees would be very marketable for a financial advisor. My wife and I took a long walk on the beach, discussed the pros and cons, thought how much I hated every second of every day working as a lawyer, and that I wasn't really making any money doing it either. And we went for it. I figured that in either event, as a lawyer or a financial advisor, you can make an okay living to a great living, really just dependent on how well you did. I am very, very happy that I made that switch. I only really speak to one friend from law school, and he was miserable for about the first 20 years until he became self-employed. Now he likes what he does too. But yeah, so that's how I got started. I worked for Merrill for 3 years, worked for another independent RIA for 4.5. I left him in February 2006, and I've been self-employed ever since.
Good for you. Yeah, I recently read the book Winners Never Cheat by John Huntsman Sr. Larry King does the foreword on that. And there's a bunch of great things. And I was mentioning the pre-show. He, really cautions about the legal profession. And it's interesting because I know there are a ton of workaholics and a ton of, men and women who really don't fit that mold of being a lawyer and working 90-hour weeks and such. Do you feel like you have better balance by just switching industries? Do you feel like it was better balance because you got to be self-employed? Let's talk about balance for a second.
Sure. I think that both matter. One of the things that horrified me working at the second law firm was seeing all of the partners still at the office till 7, 8, 9 o'clock through Monday through Thursday. And then, working sometime on Saturday and often on Sunday, even when they're 50, 60 years old. And I thought, I could work really hard and I'm okay doing that for some part of my career. I don't want my whole life to be at the office. And so that was one of the things that made me think about the different career. And I looked at that as a big downside about staying in law. And then when I went to Merrill, of course, I worked a whole lot, trying to start a business, get started in this industry. And I'd say I really didn't find balance until about a year after I was in business, being self-employed. So I went a long time with no balance. All I did was work, and whatever time I could spend with my wife and kids, which was like really usually sports or activity related, like a lot of people do in their 20s and 30s. But it was definitely a challenge. And then about a year after I was in business and I was still working a whole lot, I realized that I had to carve out some time for exercise so that I didn't just like die an old fat guy. And so my wife and I started to join her at the gym. And not long afterwards is when I did the first triathlon. Like I did a triathlon in like 94, 95, but then would have been probably 2007 or 8 when I did the first one again. And so that's when I started to get a little bit better. And it was really necessary, like for my health, because I was just working all the time. I was always afraid I'd be going out of business and bankrupting my family. And it's a horrible thought to have. And I had it for a long time. But that exercise was the first step. And, I've been working towards balance. It's something you never achieve. It's never perfect balance, I don't think. But I'm getting better at it. And the goalposts always shift. Sorry for that rambling, long answer.
I think that's really important to talk about, like your beginnings, the struggle. I mean, I left it very wide open there for you to discuss, because I find a lot of advisors, like I think the culture of where they start, is super important. Like you were a legal advisor and you were helping clients, but the expectation in the culture was 7, 8, 9 o'clock, work Saturdays and Sundays. Like what a joy, unless you only enjoy work, you don't want your family to be around. Like it just doesn't make sense. So I really appreciate your struggle, and I can see like kind of your breakthrough where you finally like,
sure,
you need health, you need to spend time with your family.
When I was at the second law firm, it was in Center City, Philadelphia. When I would go to push the button on the elevator, my whole body clench up. Like I felt like it just like hurt my heart. Get there early as you can. Be one of the first ones there, be one of the last ones to go. And there's always somebody who's just working all the time. And it's not the life for me.
No, I mean, that's a classic workaholic, right? First one there, last one to leave, no health, no relationships, no time for quality spiritual interaction. Like those are the top 3 things that most advisors tell me.
Right.
So your definition of balance, tell us what that looks like now. Now that you've had these struggles with it and you really kind of have this breakthrough and you're doing so much better. We know we're not perfect at it. Literally, I was a few minutes late to this appointment. Clear, honest, admittance. I'm balanced, man. That doesn't mean I'm perfect balanced, man. Like we're always struggling.
Yeah.
But I have a much greater balance than I ever had in my life. And I'm able to help others do it, which I love. So talk to us about that. What does your definition of balance now look like?
Sure. So my definition of balance would be having the time for the things that are most important for me in life. And so that I don't know if this is necessarily in order, but it's my wife and daughters, and then the rest of my family. And we have a lot of friends that we're close with. Like to spend time with them. It's important to spend time with them. It's a good thing. I mean, it's one of the important parts of life. I need to have enough time to commit what I need to for our business. And in our business, my roles are meeting prospective clients and working with clients for financial planning and investment advice. Our team members handle everything else, the paperwork and scheduling. So I'm there to provide advice and to help Samantha, our younger financial advisor, provide advice too. And then I want to have enough time to exercise and be active. And that includes, I still do triathlons. I have a 70.3 scheduled for September 10th. So 70.3 is how many miles it is. And then my wife and I have started golfing. So we walk the golf course, usually 9 holes a couple of times a week. It's nice to be outside, meet other people, make new connections, make new friendships. Those are the things that are top of mind, what are most important to me. And really trying to achieve balance is make sure they don't spend too much in any one of those things that the others suffer. So earlier in my career, I had to work so much because I was afraid I wasn't going to have enough money to feed my family. I don't have that concern anymore. I'm going to knock wood. I'm not real superstitious, but things can change in a hurry in this industry. And I don't want to let golf take over my life. I worry sometimes that I'll let triathlon take over my life because, you can never do too much training, but it's really trying to keep them all in some sort of balance so that I can do well at all of them and that, I can continue to improve at everything. One thing I've found out, I'm 55 and I feel like I can still do so much better in so many things. I guess I'm a slow learner. I don't know.
I love what you're saying here because you're exactly right. Like a lot of times I see this, and I'm not saying that you're an addict or if you're a workaholic,
Right.
that you're addicted. You may just have bad habits. But I found that with addictions, a lot of times what people do is they will, and the research proves this, like they will try to quit one addiction, but because they have an addictive personality, they'll grab onto another one.
Right.
So, I think what you're saying is true, Mike. Like you don't want to just stop working and only do triathlons and, make that your thing. But what we found, at least with researching 500 plus advisors on this topic, is that when you have a great balance at work and you have what you'd like to do outside of work and all the other, 9 categories that we've identified of life, and you have a great balance in all of these areas, that is super, super helpful. So, that's really kind of the definition of what we look at as balance, is being able to put your priorities first, all of your priorities. Work typically is not your number one priority. For a married, man with children or woman with children, it's typically not. Like it's going to be
Right.
your health, spirituality, your family. So yeah, you don't want to push these other areas of your life out of order as well. So let's talk about, maybe what are your biggest struggles with keeping all of the other things in balance? How do you keep those most important priorities top of mind? What maybe do you struggle with personally that maybe knocks you out of balance once in a while?
Yeah, some of the things I struggle with are, when it was just me and I had no employees, I could feel like I could spend my day according to what was most important for me to get done. I had to be available for client calls or emails, but not like chained to the desk. And what's different now that there are other employees here, well, they have more of a regular work schedule, so they will typically work 8:30 to 4:30 or something. And so for me to communicate with them, I need to be available then. So I can't just go and ride my bike 4 hours or something during the workday. I don't think, without at least not without a lot of notice or planning for it. And so it's really getting the other 4 people's schedule in my mind is like the latest challenge. And that's a little bit harder. Although the flip side is I hired them because they could do all of these things so that I don't have to do those. Right. And so I could spend my time more writing or making videos or doing other things that seem to make sense for me to help bring in clients or work with the clients that we have, make sure that my skills are still sharp.
Yeah, that's super important. And I appreciate that, aspect of it, to keep those skills sharp. What would you say, as now an advisor who's been in the business, you've been very successful, you've written several books on the matter here. You're growing your practice, you have a productive team. What would you say is one of the biggest issues that your team faces trying to keep that balance?
Yeah, well, the team is all still relatively new together. So Karen's been with me for 7.5 years, but Samantha has only been here for 14 months. And she's relatively less experienced, right? So she's still in her 20s, and so the whole thing is new, kind of, for her. And Sandra has been with us only full time since September. So she's been with us for 3 years. So everybody's still kind of getting used to their roles and getting used to working with each other. And so Karen has been working on our workflows and how things work together. And so it's a little bit of a challenge, getting people to learn their roles and make sure that they all work for us. And so I think it will still take a little bit of time for that to gel. So, everybody's very good at their jobs. It's just trying to figure out like exactly where in the workflow each person should go, because so many things sort of overlap. Okay, we know that the intern is going to do the scanning, but if somebody's going to open an account, and put it in with our rebalancing software, some of those things overlap, and it's trying to find the best way to everything works together is not a struggle, but it's a challenge, and it's something that will evolve, and that will always evolve because once we get this straightened out, we'll have need for another employee, I'm sure, and so it's something that will be with us.
Yeah, 100%. I appreciate you sharing some challenges that you're struggling with. What on the flip side has been some of your successes in scaling your business while trying to keep that personal balance that is so important to you and that you want for your team?
Sure. Well, the plus side of having the employees here is that I don't have to do everything like I did 7 years ago. And they are, a lot of them are better than me in a lot of the things I was doing. So it's better overall for clients that they're here. And I'm no longer answering emails at 9:00 at my home office because I have to. Every once in a while I might do something, but back in those days before anybody was hired, I was doing everything for an RIA, and it can be time consuming. Working on a financial plan for somebody and still trying to meet people and answering the phones. So those are not issues anymore. So I really do have a much more clearly defined role. And it doesn't involve me working crazy hours like I did 7-8 plus years ago. So it's definitely been a good thing.
Well, and as you're scaling, as you're growing, obviously you said the team is kind of fairly new together. What would you say is the most important thing to keep in mind as you're building this team so it can grow and you can scale and you can take a step away from those other things and offload and delegate and grow the team? What would you say is personally for you been successful there?
Yeah, I mean, the important things are that the clients need to have the best service that we could provide, which should be fantastic service, and the employees should have a good work experience. That they should want to come into work, want to continue to learn and grow and take on new responsibilities, enjoy it, and be fairly compensated. That they're happy to be here, and then if they're happy to be here, I think that helps. I think that a lot of clients really do like Karen now that they've known her for a long time. And I think that overall helps. It's not just me, sitting in my home office. It's a bigger team. And I'm very happy with it. I think it's a good thing.
Fantastic. As we kind of wrap up a little bit here, what do you see some of the biggest issues that advisors have around achieving balance and scaling their business, kind of having this balanced growth? And then maybe to kind of follow up and be thinking about what would be some advice you'd give them if you could go back, if you could say, hey, this is what I would do differently. If you did it differently, maybe right. There's some things you would suggest, but what do you see that some of the biggest issues are? And then we'll jump to that next question.
Well, I think for advisors, the thing that's hard is that so many still come into this industry not really knowing very much, and then having to really build and scale a business for themselves. And it's hard. I had an MBA in finance and undergrad in finance and a law degree, but I didn't know when I started what mutual fund share classes were or anything about so much of personal finance. And I'd say I was probably more educated in those things than most people are that come into this industry. And so it's hard to learn all of that and then meanwhile get in front of enough people that you have enough clients. So I think that's a challenge. And, here we're working. So Samantha does not have to bring in clients. She's a financial advisor and she does not have that sales responsibility. So I think as long as that is how most advisors still get into this industry, it's going to be hard for them to achieve balance. And I guess what I would say is, and I wish that I had done a better job of learning what my strengths were and focusing more on that so that I could get clients, work with them quicker. It wasn't until I got SEO for Dummies from the library that I realized that I could do a better website that would be found more easily, and that creating content was a way to drive people to the website and get people, because I'm not real outgoing. So I'm not going to walk up to strangers at a conference and say, "Hey, I'm Mike, I can help you." It's just not who I am. But it took me a long time to find out what I was good at and what I could use. And so I'd say, for advisors, give yourself an honest assessment. There are a lot of different ways you could get into this business, a lot of different avenues, and a lot of different ways to be successful, and follow those that you think you have a good chance at. Like if I had to make 300 cold calls a day to be successful in this industry, I'd be a lawyer again, because I couldn't do that. But I found out that I could speak and that I could write, and those things led to getting clients. And I wish I'd realized that years earlier. But life's a challenge and a chance to grow and learn. And I do love the journey.
I so appreciate what you just mentioned there. Thank you for talking about the industry. The industry, there's always going to be issues. I've found that I will be working here the rest of my life. And if I get bored, or if every advisor is a balanced advisor by the time we're done, maybe we'll work on, legal advisors, because it sounds like they could use a lot of help. I'm just not sure if they want it. That's kind of right. That's the other thing. I'm not bashing. I'm just simply saying, I think there's something there is just, we want to be, perceived as such. And it's unfortunate. But I will tell you, the thing that really strikes me is what you're saying here is get content, create content. And regardless of personality, it doesn't matter if you're an outgoing person, introvert, you can create content or partner with someone. If you're not great at creating the content, partner with other people who know how to do it right. I have found the majority of advisors who I work with who want to grow and scale, we teach them and we partner with them with book production, with podcast, beginning their own podcast, with live events, virtual events. There are things that you can do wherever your strength is. And I've quite honestly found that the books are the greatest thing you can do. I know you're a 2-time author, the process, and it has absolutely helped me. I know it's helped you. So I appreciate you mentioning this, Mike. I appreciate you being on the show today, for taking the time, making the time to be here with the Balanced Advisor podcast. Anything you'd like to say any other closing remarks or thoughts before we wrap it up?
No, I just thank you for having me. And I really appreciate the work that you do. I don't think there are very many balanced advisors. I think you have a full plate for as long as you want to have this as your career. I think there will always be people that can learn from you. And I'm glad that you're out there doing what you do.
Well, I appreciate that. Back at you, man. And, I love bringing on advisors who are really making this part of their heart and soul and being an example. So back to you and other advisors who are out there who are really trying to make this happen. I know you get into this industry a lot of times for the right reasons and may get sidetracked, may get distracted. And that's what we're here for. If you want to get the book Achieving Balance, you can go to achievingbalancebook.com and pick it up there, or go to travisperry.com. And there's a great bundle offer that you can take advantage of. Thanks again, Mike, for being here. Thanks, listeners. If they want to get in touch with you, Mike, what's the best way? If they want to connect, LinkedIn, your email,
LinkedIn,
website?
Twitter. Email is mgarry@yardleywealth.net. Gary's got 2 R's. You just Google Michael Garry. I'm not the personal trainer or the dentist. I'm the other one.
Love it. I'm glad that you made that differential. If you were a dentist, we'd have to have a chat because that would be very interesting. Lawyer, MBA, financial advisor, and dentist. That would be a little much, but
that would be a little bit much. Yes, my wife would have left me.
She would have left you a long time ago. Oh, you're a good man. Appreciate you again spending this time. Like, subscribe, share this with others who need more balance in their life. And remember, live life on purpose.